All right, we head straight to the papers now, and I begin with the News Direct. No examination until 36 states, the Federal Capital Territory, reopen schools. WAEC insists NUT, ASU, NASU, others support continuous closure of schools. And to the front page of the Daily Times, Ngige tackles NECA over 3.4 billion naira NSITF fraud, accuses body of complicity, insists DG's suspension followed due process. And on the front page of the Leadership newspaper, COVID-19, more states suffer drop in internal revenue. Right now, we'll move to the front page of the Blueprint. In 17 operations, June, troops kill 75 terrorists, rescue 35, lose 1 officer. I never said insurgency will end 2020. Chief of Air Staff Abubakar speaking there. Buhari condemns attack on UN helicopter. No regrets negotiating with bandits. Matawali secures deployment of 788 police to Zamfara. We'll be looking at that story shortly. And we move now to the front page of the Daily Trust. As banks raking to 22 billion naira, customers groan over multiple charges, taxes, what CBN is doing, how banks could improve revenue base, experts. To the front page of the National Economy now, private sector moves to curb 290 billion naira annual capital flight on aircraft maintenance. And finally, on the front page of the Business AM, PAL discos forensic audit bad for economists, appropriate but wrong timing. 1 license revocation spells economic doom. Discos inherited late life decommissioning assets. All right, gentlemen, we'll be looking at this story, talking about security matters now on the front page of the Blueprint, talking about troops killing 75 terrorists and rescue 35, lose 1 officer. But one thing that the president reacted to is the attack on the UN helicopter. And you would recall, Razak, that this is happening 5 months after there was an attack on a UN property somehow in Borno State. I wonder what you make of this attack on the UN helicopter and even the property.
Well, Nigeria is beginning to take a lead in countries that are suffering from terrorism. The bandits in Nigeria has scaled up to be one of the third country in the world in terms of terrorism. For the country, it's not a good thing, and the concern globally for rising in terrorism is becoming more severe, combined with the crisis of COVID-19. You know, COVID-19 is dragging the world economy back very, very, very fast. Now, the terrorists, the target is to hit a nation where it is going to pain the nation most. It's going to bring a very dangerous dimension to what we are witnessing already, because what they want to achieve is to scare away any foreign intervention from Nigeria. War convention is going to frown at what the Boko Haram have done. And you know that the bandits don't have single respect for any war convention. And the pattern and style of banditry that was on before is not known to be attacking a foreign national. With what has happened now, that means the bands have no band again. If it were to be the Boko Haram, the ISWA, or the other terrorists, who know that that's their pattern. But bandits is known to a particular style. Now that they are scaled it up, the security apparatus in Nigeria must quickly, as a matter of emergency, review their pattern and to also know that what they have at hand is more dangerous than what we had assumed before.
But some persons will say that these people, the bandits, are same as the insurgents, perhaps those who were let off, who had come out to say that they were part of this and they were pardoned, so to speak, and do not have anything to do.
You know, we have always warned that you should not recuperate the members of bandits that were negotiated and forgiven. You should be careful the kind of role you give them, because you are going to have access to sensitive military information. You are going to have access, and you cannot de-radicalize radical completely. So I agree with people who say that those who were forgiven and those who were part of the initiative before the person coming down, it's possible. I never doubted it. I never supported even bringing them back fully into the society, because if you have gotten to that height in life, it is hard for them to completely distance them from what is happening on ground. So by and large, the country is undergoing a low-scale war, and all hands must be on deck. In whatever way the citizens of Nigeria can assist the military, we have to come up with it. Gone are the days when we think this is the duty of the government. People are dying every day, and normally others are dying. It's Nigerians that are dying. So the politics of the game should be set aside. We must rally around our military. Our military must be given the needed support from the people. Criticism will not matter. What way can we cure the diseases that's ravaging the country is what should be uppermost in our mind, because military must not be distracted. If a public officer is distracted, a policy may fail. But if you distract the military, life will be lost, and that is what.
All right, let's bring Chasson into this conversation now. The president is talking tough, and he's saying that this attack will not go without severe consequences. I wonder what that will be from your perspective.
Thank you very much, Vero, for having me this morning. President talking tough, like Razak said, the dimension the bandits and the Boko Haram are taking is going to have significant impact when they start attacking the foreign missions. Because the essence of the people here is to give support even to the people. You and I know what UN are doing in providing some of this palliative to the people at the IDP and some areas for them to sustain. And I think it's getting to this banditry that they need to dislodge them in order for them to have their way. I think what we need to do currently is to re-strategize. They put up a thinking cap as a nation, and the military should look for ways at which they are going to collaborate with the local people. You see, these people are not ghosts. They exist in every part, and some of them are even being known. But the fear of exposure is what everybody is trying to curb. So in such a way that we can protect anyone that make revelation of some of these people that are perpetrating this evil, when they are being exposed, we go a long way. I think it's high time we re-strategize in such a way that it will not affect the nation at large. In as much as we don't support killing locally, we will not say because it's not affecting the foreign people, that's why I want them to hype the game. But we want a situation where the military will re-strategize and collaborate more with the local people to fetch out those people so that we can put an end to it.
When you say re-strategize, I wonder where you want us to begin from. Because when you look at the front page of the paper this morning saying the troops have, in June, were able to kill about 75 terrorists, rescue 35. Some will say that we are, getting that result. And so if we need to re-strategize, from what perspective and how?
If you look at the result we have this morning, you will see that if you compare in the last few weeks, we have seen an improvement on the part of the military, even though it's not perfect as we expect. We've seen them lynching on those people and moving closer to their territory. These are areas where we are saying And also, we need to involve the local. Remember when the problem of herdsmen was so much, there was introduction of Amotekun in the southwest, even to penetrate into the locals. So these are things that we are saying. The re-strategizing has commenced, but we want them to improve more on it so that we can move closer to the people that we are talking about and lynch on them. We need to bring it to the barest minimum. Kudos to them because they are out there risking their life. But we want a situation where whatever they are using now, the equipment they are getting is put to use for full, so that we can nip it at the bud and eradicate this menace.
No examination until 36 states, the Federal Capital Territory, reopen schools, WAEC insists. NUT, ASU, NASU, others support continuous closure of schools. And we move now to the front page of the Daily Times. Ngige tackles NECA over 3.4 billion naira NSITF fraud, accuses body of complicity, insists DG's suspension followed due process. And to the leadership newspaper, COVID-19, more states suffer drop in internal revenue. On the front page of the blueprint, in 17 operations in June, troops kill 75 terrorists, rescue 35, lose 1 officer. I never said insurgency will end 2020. CAS Abubakar Buhari condemns attack on UN helicopter. No regrets negotiating with bandits. Matawali secures deployment of 788 police to Zamfara. And we move to the front page of the Daily Trust. Its banks rake in 22 billion naira. Customers groan over multiple charges, taxes. What CBN is doing, how banks could improve revenue base. Experts will be looking at that shortly. And now we'll move to the front page of the national economy. Private sector moves to curb 290 billion naira annual capital flight on aircraft maintenance. And finally, on the front page of the Business AM, Power Disco's forensic audit bad for economy. Economists speaking there. Appropriate but wrong timing. One license revocation spells economic doom. Disco's inherited late life decommissioning assets. All right, gentlemen, let's look at the front page of the Daily Trust newspaper, talking about customers groaning over multiple charges and taxes. You would recall that sometime last week, a lot of Nigerians came out protesting, if I may use the word, against charges, stamp duties, particularly from a particular bank. And we saw the uproar, the reaction, so much so the bank had to quickly take steps to address that. I wonder what you have been feeling with regards to these issues, talking about multiple taxes. Perhaps you might want to share your experience as you begin to tell us what you make of this development. I'll start with you, Razak.
All right, thank you. This period is a period where losses are recorded in all sectors, oil sectors, telecoms, banking and financial institutions. And we must all be looking at the profit. We must be gunning for profit. And that profit is what all of us must do to stay alive.
But do Nigerians need to grow at this level for them to make profit?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, that any institution that is looking at profit in terms of monetary value must be put to check. The greatest profit we must be looking at is what will keep us alive. Not only alive health-wise, alive from bursting of crisis of survival of things that make you survive. All the institutions must be ready to put up sacrifices for us to keep our nation going. Schools have been told to stop, and they are losing money every day, but that's the price. That's the price they are going to pay for us to keep us alive. So the financial institution, particularly in Nigeria, we have to address them. It is not about money, money, money. The greatest profit for you is your image. The image of the financial institution seems not to be a concern to them, and that image is important. I'm also a direct beneficiary of the profit that they are looking for. A particular bank during the COVID-19 charged me over 10,000 naira for transaction that I did not do. I can't go to bankruptcy now because as part of a safety measure, I have refused to go to a crowded place, and I am documenting all these charges until when the crisis subsided. So we call on the government that the kind of palliative that they are giving should not stop until they are able to address that area. I am aware that Nigerians are not happy with virtually all the financial institutions. This is not how to recuperate your loss back. The best way to recuperate it back is to re-energize the confidence your customers have in you so that we can do more business with you. With this,
all right.
if there are alternatives to what we are doing, we will opt for that alternative. So it is not a good thing at the moment.
Let's get Sheson Kwade's perspective to this now. Razak just mentioned making sacrifices. Can the financial institution make these sacrifices, knowing that the loans from where most of their profits are made right now is not something they're really making profit from? I wonder if we can strike a balance. Can they make the sacrifice?
Veronica, sacrifice is inevitable because the essence of an organization existence is the customer. If the customers are not there, there is no organization, there is no institution. If you and I decide to keep our money in our houses, then there won't be anything like bank. The highest that will happen is that we'll not get extra interest or get extra loan. But we can, before the existence of the bank, there are ways that our people were doing it. So I want to say at this point in time that the bank should be very sensitive to the yearning of their customer. If you kill the business that is giving you that profit that you're talking about, in a short time, you'll be out of business. You can see, we understand the plight that majority of the loan that were granted are being restructured. The highest that will happen is if they have a projection of making so much profit at the end of the year, it's definitely going to trickle down. But you must first cater for your customer. If your customer can survive, that guarantees your survival. But if the customers are not there and they are not happy with your services, it's going to pose a threat to it. And to look at it from another angle, customer needs to speak out. I'm sure that what we experienced last week with that particular bank was the pressure and the noise made by individuals on some of their arbitrary charges. And that was what necessitated CBN to intervene, and such reforms were made back. We have the Consumer Protection Agency. They should not relent in their effort in making sure that everything that has to do with it. So many people have been debited via ATM and funds were not returned within the stipulated time that is expected. We must make the system work, and the Consumer Protection Agency must be on top of their game to be on these banks, because the survival of the customer is the survival of the institution.
But what options are open to the banks now that customers are groaning?
Well, yeah.
Go on.
Are you talking to me? Yeah, Veronica.
Yes.
You see, my colleague here has agreed with me that this is the time to look at what you can do for Nigerians and for your people. And he has said it right, that if you have a projection of making 10 naira at the end of the day, you have to make up your mind that you sacrifice 8 naira. And in the last 20 years, banks have been making noise about profit that they are making. I hope they know that time like this will come. As a financial expert, they should know that you can't have good time all the time. There must be crisis time like this. And they will have a fund set aside for this kind of emergency. So if they don't do that, that means CBN should penalize them. That
but no one prepared for this emergency. No one was prepared.
No. See, financial experts will tell you that you can't have good days at all time. They tell us we are businessmen. That's why they say we should insure, we should have savings, we should have nice investment. That's why they say that. They can't say it might not be COVID-19, but they will know that times like this will come. At the end of the day, federal government will bear the brunt, and the federal government is also willing at all time to talk about them, about the charges, the remittance they have to give. They made it easy for them. If the government is not doing enough for them, to let them tell Nigerians will collaborate with them to compel the federal government to do whatever. And I'm aware that federal government is doing all it could, is bending double backward to impress all sectors, the schools, everybody. So what the palliative the government has gotten from the government, they should announce it. They should let Nigerians know that they got a palliative. Got palliative. And they want to double you can't eat your cake and have it, but I can't palliate from the government and now refuse to concede to your customer.
All right, let's get a final word from Sheson Okwade now, because we need to quickly wrap up.
Thank you very much, Vero. I think at this point, the SME funds, certain percentage of the profit of the bank are set aside for the SMEs. I think it is high time some of these funds are channeled to the right SMEs for business survival. At this point, several years, we've had this set aside to encourage and equip the SMEs. If the SMEs can survive, definitely we will grow more and the banks can grow more. But situation where some of these funds are not channeled to the right SMEs or is being used to take care of friends and politicians, it will create more problem. So we will encourage the banks to see how they support the SME in reviving their businesses. And I know on the long run, once this is able to do with minimal interest charged to them, definitely on the long run, the banks will be better for it.
All right, gentlemen, Razak Olukoba, Sheson Okwade, thank you so much for speaking with